Welcome to the Creative Prayer Book. I'm Eric Scott, and this is lesson number 9. Lesson number 9. So for the past 8 weeks, I have been coming to you, sharing ideas, working in this little book, slowly turning it into a book of creative affirmations. I'm calling it a prayer book, but again, a prayer can be a hope, a wish, a dream, whatever you want it to be. So you can actually use prayers, or you can use affirmations or quotes, your favorite song lyrics, anything that you want to use. So I've been focusing the last couple weeks on lettering. So we've gotten into the lettering. The first week I focused on some stenciling, and we talked about how you could emphasize the stencils by going around it, or you could emphasize it by creating some color inside of it. Last week we talked about using your regular handwriting, so whether it's printed handwriting or whether it is that cursive longhand writing. So I've been kind of jumping around in here. I'm not working on this in order. That's kind of the way I work, but you work any way that you want. So I am going to go back to the beginning today, and I'm going to turn back to my cards. So remember, I sat down and I wrote out all these affirmations before I started the writing. That way I have them in front of me. I can look at them and make sure I'm spelling things correctly. But I've filled up quite a few pages, but I still have a long way to go. So I think I am going to start here. This is kind of the second page in the book. And I like this phrase, start where you are. So today, instead of writing, I'm going to write a little bit. Today I want to talk about found text, about using text that you find in some other way, and how you can use that to supplement your writing. So I'm going to use a little bit of my own handwriting, but then also use some of this found text. So where do we find this text? Well, you can find it anywhere. One of the easiest ways is through magazines and newspapers. So I was looking through some magazines that I have lying around the studio, and I was finding these big sort of headlines or in advertisements a lot of times. So they have words that I may have used or could use in my affirmations. So I did find this big where, so I'm going to use that. Another place to find text is your local craft store. So this is just a pack of stickers. So it's all these stickers. This is all about travel. And so there's 114 stickers on here, but it has words like discover, it has words journey, go. All those things are words or phrases that I've used in my book. So finding that, you could use the rub-on transfers, you can use lots of other things. The other thing I'm going to use is a label maker, and I'm going back to my old Label Buddy by Dymo, I think is the one that makes it. But I don't even know if they make it anymore. I mean, it's one of those things where the electronic label makers have taken over. But if you have that, you're typing the text or you're creating the text, but you're not writing it. You're doing it in a different way. So let me go ahead and dive in, and I'm going to start where I am today. So start here. So I have the page. I'm going to think about start, and then that big word where. Let me go ahead and cut that out first, because that's my nice big phrase, big word. That's going to really determine where everything else goes. So I could be really neat and pristine and try to cut out a perfect rectangle, but you don't have to. Alright, get that out of the way. Okay, so depending on where I want to glue it. Now, I know sometimes my pages like to start to come out, so if I glue it over top of the seam where the two pages come together, that's going to help hold everything together. So I might think about that, overlapping that right there. So start where you are might be good, something like that. So let me go ahead and glue that down. So of course I've got my Oohoo glue stick, and I've got my scrap paper over here, my glue paper. And remember, this is just an old pad of paper of thin kind of cheap paper that I've had. So I just spread my glue on there nice and liberally, covering the entire back, just like I've done before. And pick that up. So again, I can always use my glue stick to pick up the collage material. All right, so just making sure that it overlaps that seam there. Okay, so I could try to find the word start, you, are, but I probably am not going to find those in the magazine. So I am going to write them. Let me get this out of the way. All right, so thinking about start, I think I want it up here. And again, I'm just going to use my regular handwriting, do some of my printing. Start where, and then I want it to be you are. So maybe you starts here. And then R goes there. Now, just like before, I can't really see that too well, but that's okay for now. I can always come back, so I am going to hold off. But if you want to, go back like we did last time and thicken the letters, make them stand out a little bit more. But I'm going to share some other embellishment techniques later. Okay, so again, find some magazines, cut out some big words that you can use in your book, and just kind of find those spaces. So anyway, there's that. So let me get rid of that one. I think I'm gonna use this one, lean into the resistance now. So let me find a good spot for that. Maybe back, maybe somewhere where I don't have a lot of room, because I want to use my label maker, and I think I remember I had a space that was kind of odd. This one is kind of odd because it has all of this magazine image. So these magazine images are rather glossy. So writing over them with a regular ink pen, with my Uniball pen, isn't very easy to do. So I think this might be a great place to use the label maker because it's a sticker. Okay, so if you're not familiar with these label makers, like I said, I don't even know if you can find them anymore, but I know I bought this years ago. I used it a lot when I first got it. It's been kind of sitting around my studio, and I kind of felt like, hey, this would be a great way to come up with words. So if you have one, great. If you can find one cheap, awesome. Like I said, I don't even know if they make them, but the maker is Dymo. And what's nice is that this bottom part opens up, and I've got some red, basically it's like a red plastic tape. And then I dial in the letters, and I push, and it raises the letters. And I'll show you, I've already started this. So I have the word lean, and then I have into, and then I have the. All right, and then I just need resistance is the last one that I need. But it comes in some of these different color tapes. So I have a blue, I have a black, I have other colors as well. So when I start it, I like to at least start off with one space. So that right there is the space, and I just squeeze it. It starts to pop out. I like to do 2 spaces just to make sure. All right, so I don't know, you can start to see it coming out here. So I'm going to dial. Now, here's the big thing, is remembering how to spell it and making sure you don't forget, because you can't fix your mistakes. So R, and that's why having this in front of me is a good idea. R, E, S, I, S, T, A, N, C, E, and again I like to have a couple spaces after, and then it has a little pair of scissors symbol there, and that's the cutter. And then I just squeeze it, and it should pop right out. Maybe. Let's try it again. There it goes. Okay. All right. So now what I want to do is the E didn't come up all the way, but you know what? That's part of it. That's if I'm like, oh, I've got to fix it, then I'm not leading into the resistance. Okay. So it's got a sticker back. And what I want to do is when it cuts it, it creates a little flap there. So that little part just peels right off. And hopefully this tape isn't so old that it's not going to work. Rub it down, lean. Into the resistance. All right. Okay, so that quickly I have one of mine done with the label maker. So again, if you don't have that old-fashioned kind of label maker, maybe you have an electronic one where you can print it out, feel free to use that. If you don't have that, even feel free to type it up on the computer and print it out. Again, you're creating the text in a different form and then adding it to it. So anyway, that kind of wraps it up for today. Today's kind of a short, sweet little lesson about using more text, but this time trying to find text or to create the text in a different way, like with a label maker or with a computer. So try those out as you're adding some more words. My plan is, hopefully, since this is number 9, to have 3 more lessons. So I'm thinking next week is going to be another lesson on lettering, and then maybe 2 more lessons following up. Maybe one of those will be lettering if I can think of something else, or maybe something to kind of finish up or embellish pages. So that's the plan anyway, is to have 3 more lessons after this week. So I'll have to figure out something else to do. But I hope you've been enjoying the Creative Prayer Book. So think about other ways that you can add this found text to your book, and we'll see you next week. So as always, thank you so much for joining me, and happy creating.